Good evening, good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Welcome to another experience of the African Speaks. This is our experience of the coming of the Ubuntu generation, the coming of the Ubuntu generation. So, peace and blessings, family. How y'all doing? Just to make an early announcement, if you choose to comment, please be on one of the public pages so that I can see the comments and we can have this discussion. Y'all keep doing that, and then we're going to develop something called the collective, where I invite you in really to have a conversation live on studio. So let us continue. Let's continue down this road of 2026 where we become completely aware of who we are, not as individuals, but how we relate to the greater world around us in this big community. Through our Ubuntu generation, our Ubuntu philosophy. So we've been doing this for a minute. We've been doing this at the turn of the year. And of course, this is a recap. We always start off with a recap. So those who have not been a part of the experience, we play catch up. And of course, all of the things are on all of the previous lessons, conversations, dialogues are on our Facebook page, The African Speaks. So go check it out. And so the first 3 months was about the awakening of the African mind. We had to let you know who you were before you were called. Where did your time start at? Right? So that's an awareness of our reality and situation, and how was it interrupted? Your awareness of self, how was that interrupted? Giving you clarity of the world around you and helping you rewrite the narrative, reset the narrative. We didn't start on, like I said, we landed on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Come on now. And so we started way before the transatlantic slave trade. And we were a particular type of being way before then. And so in this space, we're waking up your narrative the first 3 months so that you could understand who and whose we are. And so now, in the second quarter, we're dealing with that healing and reclamation, becoming aware of who you are and dealing with how to handle that emotional maturity. Switch those gears. Switch those gears emotionally. Switch those, understand how to recognize patterns. The patterns that we adapted in this space where we don't even know who we are, what patterns kept us to survive. And then the restoration of our awareness. We are not trying to get you to build you a new you. We're trying to get you to remember who you were originally created to become. That's in your memory. And so this is a conscious effort. Definitely a conscious effort. We have this second half is we got the titles and y'all can see how it flows. And you see we on week 19, the silent family system, identifying unspoken influences. Woo. That's it. Key focus. I understand myself. I understand what I carry. Important. I understand what shaped me. We're bringing awareness to the shift of change to add to that. And so we always have to remember in that shift, an enemy has done this to us. We will talk about patterns. We will talk about epigenetic issues, family issues, right? Regular traumas, but understand the bigger concept of an enemy has done this to us. A system that was not, we have been forced in, that was not created, organized, or set up for us to actually get back to who we were called. We're no more than, we still live in a modern day slavery experience, and we're trying to shift that. And so most of our warfare is internal. This is an internal fight. This is going against your conditioning. This is going against your survival mode mentality. This is against your helps, the things that help self-sabotage you. This goes against your state of isolation. We're not playing here. We're not playing here. We are in the process of finding real healing, I need you to get, again, you are not broken. We're trying to get you to remember who you were called to be. That doesn't mean that you're not a good person, but did you actually become everything that you were designed? Not in your own memory, not according to what you want in life. Oh, I never accomplished the things I set out to accomplish. That's not what we're after. We're after what you were divinely created for. That's a whole different space. That might be totally, you might be a great person and like, you know what? When I come in contact with the ancestors that feed into my frame, yeah, I may or may not know. Wait a minute, I was supposed to do what? Hmm. And I've had that conversation with my ancestors. I remember my blood pressure got out of hand, blood sugar got out of hand, and I thought it was it for me. I ain't really tell nobody this. And I went back into my holistic state to recover the temple that I'm in. And I went inside and spoke to my ancestors and said, did I do enough to make you proud? Did I heal enough within me that kept me from my awareness to who I am, to the creator, who I am to my ancestors, who I am to my community and my people, my children, my family? Did I do enough to earn the right to be considered amongst the best of my ancestors? And they came back and said, we are proud of who you did, what you did. Did I do enough? And I said, well, what happens if I want to stay? They literally said, that's all up to you, man. And hence, I went back to work to make sure that when my time comes, I'm ready. And so I want you to be on that journey with me too. And so our first part was ancestral healing, understanding the patterns across generations. You are not just the makeup of you. You are the makeup of everybody in your bloodline that walked on this earth before you. And so in order to get to those patterns from your ancestors that have walked this earth and lived in pure awareness of the inner divinity, you got to get through those individuals that hadn't. So we got to travel, more than 400 years beyond first, healing those patterns across generations. And then in that space, you are able to heal the ancestors themselves. Because what didn't heal in them shows up in you. And so you got to look at those patterns. You always ask yourself, where did it come from? And this is when we ask that question, where did it come from? We discussed the living memory within, epigenetic trauma, behaviors, attitudes, everything. That ancestral healing, when you realize that, you know what, this has happened in a lifetime to somebody before me. It's a part of my DNA. And if I heal it in me, it heals in them. And being able to heal your ancestors, heal yourself, heal your ancestors. And I had a sister, Chinzira Speaks. She said, yes, because I'm ready to heal everything in me. Because when I cross over, I want to, as an ancestor, I want to hit the ground running. I want to be able to heal myself to a point when I cross over, I don't carry over the issues that blocked me from my awareness of self and the fact that I was able to live in my purpose. I want to hit the ground running for those who I leave behind. That's why in funerals you see preceded by, where you who they leave you, left by, or something like that in the funeral, where they talk about those who are living beyond you. Because they carry you with them. Those who have gone before you, why? Because they are the one welcoming you. But if you've healed within inside yourself, you heal the ones that are waiting to do the work. And then you are prepared for the ones who are here who can call on you to help them do the work that they're called to do. She said, against everything, Sister Najuma, I learned for me 33 years to reshape image being the one assigned to heal your bloodline. She said she's the one that's assigned to heal her bloodline. One love. Some may feel it's heavy, but it's a privilege. Ain't it a privilege just to sit down and heal who you are? I am the one chosen. It's you. And obviously that had to happen in a divination where somebody was speaking to her in a divination and all her ancestors were saying, yo, she gonna do it for us. It's her. It's her. She gonna do it for us. And so with me, I was told that I'm a part of a family of patriarchs. And they say every male in my family is standing behind me with their arms across, waiting for their assignments. And man, if I tell you, I've been giving out some assignments and some doors have been opening. Growth is coming. Y'all rock with us. Now, in that space of understanding that you got to go inside and heal, what you see is a difference in personalities. You start going in and looking, you're like, wait a minute. Those things that I carried from my ancestors created a survival identity within me. Now, I'm trying to get from a survival identity to what Garvey said. I need to function from a sovereign identity. Letting go everything else, that fear-based selfishness, selfhood, individualism. Being in, and that's a difference between being individualistic and and then been individualism, or what is it? Somebody give it to me. Where you are distinctively yourself, but not selfish. And that's the part you got to get to. That's when you're sovereign. That part, and I had a discussion with somebody who we discussed, and I said, you know what? I don't believe in mortifying the ego. I believe in the transition of the ego, where the ego is the energy that you use to fight towards that sovereign identity. You got to know that God, you are created special. We're going to get to that. And you got to have that will inside you that continues to push you to that part where I seek to be sovereign. Where you don't react. You respond. Where you don't protect your identity, you create. Where you don't isolate yourself, you connect. Where you're not fear driven, but you function from truth. And then when you don't live for survival, food, clothes, shelter, and the expression of wealth or whatever, you live towards to express your greatest being. And I always tell people, I always seek every day, who are you allowing me to see myself as? Asking my ancestors and the creator, who are you allowing me to see myself as? What is the journey that I got to go through today to go deep inside me? And then that gets scary, because if you're doing this on a daily basis and the people around you are not, they don't see, it's hard for them to see your growth because they haven't seen theirs. And then now you're dealing with the identity formed through survival. You have multiple personalities inside you. Multiple personalities inside you that allow you to shift from place to place. And in that space, you got to be aware of when one of those personalities rear up. And so you're pushing past. So if you heal one personality in one relational experience where one group of people, you got to heal. There's other levels of those personalities that you got to go through healing. No telling the different survival personalities that you created just to be, just to exist for 24 hours. Who did that? An enemy has done this to us. And so, yes, you do have to, you definitely have to look at yourself in each situation and push towards the sovereign being inside you, recognizing those adaptive personalities. And when, again, I know my personal journey, okay, I need to fix this personality in this area where I deal with these type of people. Then you switch up. You switch up every time you meet a whole nother new set of people. You switch up. And you got to be able to push past that. And from there, we dealt with last week the emotional inheritance. What are the emotions that are in me that did not come from me? I have expressions of my emotions that do not belong within me. And that's that biological, the epigenetic memory that lives in your body. Psychologically, these are the learned patterns that condition your emotional responses. Then you have ancestral memory, spirituality, that energetic impression. And for some, and I look at this, it just never happened to me, but maybe it happened to some. I always look at how in slave movies, and a white man comes and a woman or a male will be with a child, and they can't look up. When they with each other, they looking up, but as soon as white folks come down, they get smaller, and you pull back. That's an energetic impression. When you watching slave movies of our history in the Americas and you feel it, that's an energetic impression. You got to be able to recognize those experiences, right? Because if you aren't becoming aware of those impressions, you go on autopilot. It's just you begin to respond in ways that you don't even know why. And then once you recognize it, yeah, you're able to reclaim, getting further and closer to reclaim who you are, to be able to move forward. Just because it can end with you. You feel me? It didn't start with you, but it definitely can end with you. That's a choice. And if you move forward without healing it, you move it forward to another generation of people. Whoever you're around, you're sharing that with. If you have children, you're sharing it with them. And if you're just in somebody's circle and you're not changing, you're trying to condition them to your lack of change. And so today, we're focusing on the silent family system, identifying unspoken influences. Ain't that something? What was never spoken still speaks. What was never spoken to you still lives through you. Silence is so loud in this journey. The silence of your family. Now, when we take a look at that definition, the silent family system is a collection of the unspoken patterns, emotional rules, and behavioral expectations that shape how you think, feel, and respond without being directly explained at all. And these are the unspoken in your family. Is there a particular way that your family exists that was never talked about, but you learned how to exist in it? Now, I know for me, because I can only talk about me, and I can give you general conversations, general makeups. But if I sit down and say, you know what? No, let's keep this real. For me, I thought I was the ugliest person in my family. Man, it's not easy growing up with two twin brothers who are we all was about the same size and were the same thing, and they paraded us around like we were triplets. And so by the time I hit 6th grade, I was like clear without anybody saying it, but how they was, it would always be, look at the twins. And I remember standing there one Easter, and I got the picture in my photo album. All three of us wearing the exact same thing. And I'm looking at myself, and I looked at them, I looked at myself, and I looked at them. And no one said it, but I sure felt like I was the ugliest thing my mama had, because anytime she did that, my grandmama did that, my aunties would do that. Anytime anybody in the family would do that and leave me out, look at the twins. But you dressed us like triplets. At that moment, I had to say to myself, I might be the ugliest child my mother has, but I'm going to work on my intelligence and my character because I can't change the face I have, but I can work on my personality. And that's exactly what I did. And I can tell you, going through school, my brothers always got it. Are you as creative and as smart as your brother? And they hated it. Man, they hated it. It actually stunted their growth. Silent. That silent, unspoken behaviors. It literally stunted their growth. Having somebody with such a big shadow. But then in that, again, there are things. Yelling, arguments. What were the things? Always arguing about something. Or not arguing. Not experiencing, not expressing feelings and emotions. Not stating or saying anything. What was the thing that made you quiet, scared? Right? What are the things that made you behave inappropriately in certain situations or the way you do? Think about it. A lot of times the silence in the family in terms of the unspoken rules and regulations in this space. I remember the situation where, and I won't say this, won't say the family's name. I needed to borrow an encyclopedia, so I went to a friend's house to get the encyclopedia. Pops had, they had been drinking. And when I opened the door, this individual was about to crush me because I had one of those outrageous character and personalities that you're going to hear me. You're going to hear me. If I'm going to be ugly and y'all are not going to acknowledge me, I'm going to crack jokes. I'm going to be funny. You're going to hear me. And he just wanted to beat me down. And when I looked, my eyes got big because he got real. I couldn't stop joking because if I was going to get beat up, you're just going to have to hit me. That was my mindset. And I looked at the family, and the whole family got real small. The mother, the kids, nobody said nothing. They got small. That is an behavioral expectations and emotional rules and unspoken patterns. So what were they in your home? Just because they didn't speak about it doesn't mean it didn't make it real. Now remember, sometimes when you're seeking healing, you can't even go back to speak to the individuals that did it. Why? Because they may not see it. What you experienced, they didn't. So you have to go back and say, you know what, let me go back and sit down and let me see. So in that process, I didn't seek to heal my family. I just sought to heal who I am. And then took who I am back to my family and didn't say, oh, look at me. I didn't care. I just shared my divine awareness of myself with them and hope that somewhere along the line, the vibrations and frequency in which I existed, they connect. And of course, I can tell you, as far as I can see, it only happened to my brother Benny, where Benny will sit down and go through certain things, and he'll call me and he'll say, where'd you get all that from? Man, I learned it from you. And I'm appreciative that the boy adapt the experience of making sure that you don't ever fail and you don't ever fall. You are your best self every day. You wake up and you know that you're your greatest self when your eyes open. And before you close your eyes, you know that you gave the world the best that you could ever give it and you didn't run. Stand up, man up, stay that way. Never bend a knee or bow to any experience or any person. And if there's a mountain that appears in front of you, climb it. Climb it. And if you bad enough, when I was 3, I saw John Henry. That story stays in my being. That boy, black man, spun that hammer. Wow. I didn't have a dad, so I was finding things. When my dad left, my dad said, you the dad. You the man of the house. Well, how? Silence. I got to figure out how to be a man. And everything about me was about that situation. I didn't understand it then, but I realized as I got older, that's what that did to me. It made me how to prove my manhood. Mm. I didn't stop proving my manhood until, woo, let's see, my daughter was in the 5th grade. And I had that awareness of where it came from. We talk about the awareness expansion. Every family teaches even in silence. So in that moment, I had to prove my manhood at 7. I'm started 7 years old. Right. Here we go. I'm looking at the screen and trying to figure out which hand is which. I'm trying to prove my manhood to my mama. My mama knocking me out. Said, boy, you better get out my face. In every situation and circumstance. And then one day I sat down and when the awareness hit, because you have to be aware before you heal. I looked at my son, and my daughter was in the 5th grade at that time. She's 27 now. I looked at my son and said, yo, what happens if a man who spent his life proving his worth to everybody else realizes that he was fearfully and wonderfully made? He is gifted out of all this world, and he only seeks to do great things just because he was built for it. My son sat back and just looked at me. And I said, now I know why I'm here. I didn't get a chance to raise you, but you in my home at my lowest moment. And I'm seeing the pattern where I'm fighting for the awareness. And he said, Pops, if you have a man who functions to be great just because he was called and created that way, just because that is his nature to be great, not because he does it for the response of anybody else. He just does it because this is what is in his innate makeup. You can't stop that, brother, that person. I said, exactly. And I said, now it's time for me to show you how to stand up as a man, working towards sovereignty, not by standing up, but by bending my knee. And he looked at me, bending your knee. I said, brother, that's meditation and prayer. I'm going to show you how this looks. So you may not have been told avoid conflict, hide your emotions, overperform to feel valued, or stay small to keep the peace. Don't argue, keep the peace. Don't argue, keep the peace. But you learned it through watching repeated reactions, emotional environments. For mine was an emotional environment. And rewarded versus being ignored. What was rewarded for being ignored? I gotta be great. I gotta be powerful. I gotta be this. I gotta be that. Why? Because you don't see me if I don't. I thought that too. I was there and thinking one Christmas where my mother said, hey, I'm gonna give everybody $10 $10 to $20 if you get an A. Oh, I know. Oh, I'm gonna get it. I got 8 A's that week, that year. I slipped my report card to my mom. I said, oh, pay up. She looked at that report card. She said, I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about them. That's easy for you. You know how to be your greatest self academically. Let me show me something that I that you don't see. And I paused. So you have to take a look at those, aware those situations and circumstances. Like having a home where emotions were dismissed, so you didn't get a chance to feel. So now either you suppress your feelings or you overly emotional. That goes either or. Right? You where achievement was, you only felt love when you achieved something. So you're an overachiever, achieving, and it ain't enough for you. Why? Because you don't feel fulfilled because nobody loves you. You've done so much, but you empty inside. Mm. Love is unconditional, not because you produce something, but because you're created. You are an expression of love. You live as an expression of love. You don't have to earn love. You be love. A home where tension was never addressed. You didn't communicate, you didn't talk, and a lot of people have communicative issues. A lot of people and from their trauma have communicated. You never was able to communicate your trauma, so you can't really express yourself. And I had a friend who had went home one year for Christmas and wanted to express the trauma that she felt in her family. And she sat there in the kitchen and she was just bubbling because she had gone on this spiritual journey. And it just blew up the whole house and they didn't believe it. And, they sitting there and how dare you bring this up during Christmas? And she was pushed away. Ain't that something? Because they didn't want to address the truth. This is why I tell you sometimes you can't go back to those who harmed you. You got to learn how to find peace within inside yourself and be at peace. That takes a good guide. The silent system operates through observation, repetition, and adaptation. It becomes your norm until awareness kicks in. And that's important. The awareness has to kick in for you to get to an experience where you are being able to act as yourself in every relational experience in your life. I am because we are. A silent system is not just personal, it's relational. What was unspoken in your family shapes how you communicate in your relationships. What was unspoken in your family influences how you respond in your community. What was unspoken in your family impacts how you show up for others. I am because we are. You have to feel as though you belong to them, they belong to you. When unexamined, patterns continue to uh, have misunderstandings increase. That just continues. Emotional disconnections grow. Generation cycles repeat when they're ignored. You can't sit down and expect to you break up a relationship or you hang out with different people, but you didn't change. You take who you were in those dysfunctional places that you existed in and survived in to another environment. Have you done that? Have you realized that you are always the common denominator? You. But when an awareness is introduced, communication becomes intentional. You begin to sit down and say, you know what, I need to address this. We need to speak. Uh, there could be no separation between me and you. Let's work this out. Relationships become aligned. Not aligned according to what you want them to become, but aligned according to what they're divinely supposed to be. Yeah. Me and my mentor, one love, I'm going to speak his name, Eric Paul Anthony, one of my mentors. In his last days, he spent his last days with me. I'm taking care of him. He had stage 4 cancer. I bless him and rest him. Speak to him a lot. Right? When they line up, when the patterns, when you are focused and your relationships line up, he was the teacher guiding me to my experience, but I was also, and I was a student. But then after a while, my understanding began to increase. And it surpassed his to a certain extent in certain areas. And anytime as he was making his transition, he would argue with the universe. And I said, pause, brother. Let's examine your behaviors to see if it was you that denied you the greatest you, or was it the universe? And then we would do that. And he looked back and he said, when did the student become the teacher? I don't know. Can't tell you that. And he said, from this point on, I bow. I ask you to lead me either to great health or lead me to the higher understanding of self. So if I stay, I'm at my highest self. And if I go and I transition into an ancestor, you can call on me and I'll be there because I've worked with the things inside of me. And that was one of the things that we truly, truly focused on before he made his transition, because there was no telling what was happening. We were healing a lot of things in his body, but that last piece I couldn't get to. And I was okay with it because we fought for the real healing so that you can accept the transition. It was just time. Now, when you are aware and you're looking at those relationships and your conversation is changing and your communication is changing, new patterns can be created for the next generation, or within the generation you exist in, to pour it into the next generation. World of Akibaland. I give love because I am love and you are an expression of love. So love has love with love. Always do that. I don't play with that. Wait. And I was missing this. She said, the measure of success. Thank you. Ashe. Definitely. How well you heal within inside yourself, so that you may heal the ancestors before you. That's success. Did you get aligned, and are you walking in that process where you are doing what you were called and purposed to do? That's success. And then in that purpose, in that success, you've healed those who have been drawn to you. Why? Because an enemy has done this. Let me get back to that slide. Where's that slide at? An enemy has done this to us. And because an enemy has done this to us, and it says, look, Willie Lynch letter, they're going to be slaves for perpetuity, and we ain't going to have to do anything. Anything. And it's even in spiritual communities, where a spiritual community believes that it is the highest height of, they're at the highest height of who they should be. Then all of a sudden you hit a stalemate because there was a level that the community was supposed to grow and glow up to, and it didn't reach it. And so it stalls and dies. And so you always have to be maintaining. Why? Because an enemy done this to us, and we don't know to what degrees that we have to heal within, which is deeply important. Your awareness is not just for you. It's the responsibility to the collective. Your healing has nothing to do with just you. Individuality. You can be individualistic, but then your individuality is what, hey, I'm bringing my individuality to the group. My uniqueness, my specialness. Why? Because you're going to need me to do what we need to do. And what is in me, the gifts that are in me, are the gifts that I'm supposed to use for the collective. We're not free till every black person on the planet is free. There's nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people, and the liberation is internal first. Building a nation is internal first, and then there are layers to those things, and it's a responsibility. Man, if you are an adult that has children around you, and you have not taken on the responsibility to heal, that means you have hindered the child that is coming after you to move forward. And if there's if there is a ceiling that you've hit, that the child can be unconsciously aware of, this is the silence of the family dynamic. I saw you reach the height, and I didn't see you grow past that height. So there's a limit there. And you teach that limitation to your child, not knowing that's what you just did, or a child, or the next generation, which is important. That Ubuntu layer is important. This is a responsibility. Now, there's one in this language of liberation, and I talk about that. And we will talk about that in the again, I got to bring up another series of DaAfrican Speaks, where it's the power of the divine self, the language of liberation, the conversation to bring you to your greatest awareness of you. When I sat down and said, okay, I got to understand how this flows. There is something also that I added to this language of liberation, and it's called the steam within, the steam of your being. Human system understanding. You got to know you. And ironic that I've been teaching this to the kids for the past 8 years. Came up with this, I don't know, this download hit me. We are divine science, God's science, technology, engineering, artwork, and mathematics. And if I sit down and say it, who are you? What is the science? What does STEM mean, STEAM mean? And they can stand up and say it. We are made from the same elements of the universe. The body is a perfect designed system for my spirit to exist in. Technology, life itself is a system of exchange in intellect, straight up consciousness. Artwork, there are no two expressions that are the same. Man, we are purely divine artwork. Then you have mathematics, the pattern, sequence, and structure that exists within us. You are not random. You are greatly designed to be here. This is why the Ubuntu process is necessary, to get you back to that experience. And so when I created the metaphysical understanding of STEAM, I said that I also had to create the human capacity so it gets to you. The science is understanding reality. The technology is the systems of interaction. The engineering is the structure of your behavior. The artwork is the expression of your identity. And the mathematics, the patterns of awareness. Develop, this is like 5 parts, one person. 5 parts, one being. When we develop every dimension in ourselves, we become our highest potential. This is my understanding of what my community calls the best self theology. My understanding of it. Let's get that. Develop all 5, live in alignment, and lead with purpose. This is my understanding. I had to put this down, put this together, and etch it in. This is how I teach the children, and this is what I lead to teach you. The Ubuntu philosophy, and I can develop that if you want me to break that down for you. That's why I have 52 lessons in a year to do this. This is the language that helps me heal you. And so the reason why I share this is because I'm adding I'm implementing this philosophy in a slide that we go through as we go through the Ubuntu generation, and that process of getting you back to your divine self, from you looking at Ubuntu from a philosophy state, not just I am because we are. And there's an ending to that I added. It's about to build on you. We coming with it. But understanding as it relates to the silent family system, science, the science of your being. You want to master you. You have to allow your brain to create beliefs based off on repeated experience, not explanation. Hey, I got to change the way I think. I got to control my thoughts, right? Technology, internal processing, your thoughts and your emotions process these patterns automatically, until observed. So you don't know, you can't control it, but the minute that you are aware of them, you're aware of your internal processes, you can shift gears. You can get to that Ubuntu phase, right? You can understand the system that you are. Engineering, your behavior systems. These patterns become habits, how you react, how you communicate, how you make decisions. You are the orchestrator of everything that's in you. You just got to take time to pull back to be aware of your own actions, your own behaviors, your expression. You can Your identity is expressed through these learned behaviors, your tone, your posture, your voice, and your presence. Now that if you see that, this is the system in which I exist in, these are the patterns, these are how I'm expressing it. Let me change it. I'm the one, my spirit is the one that lives in this vessel. My consciousness is on the level in which I can understand. Let me step back and change it. But then when you function from autopilot, the world is getting just a fraction of you. Now, the mathematics, the patterns, the same emotional and behavioral cycles repeat until new choices interrupt the pattern. So when I'm in my space and I'm going through my journey of healing, Cardinal Alabayo, one love. And if anybody from Detroit and Houston are watching and y'all know Cardinal Alabayo, to see this, to see me is to see her. To see me is to see what shaped her. To see this is to understand that my community put me in a circle when I was at my lowest to say, brother, we got a sister who's going to help you access you. And at this time, she might be like, she like deep in her 90s. So she might not see this. But one of the last times I saw her, she looked at me and she was watching me online and she heard about my sermons and everything. She said, you are one of my best works, one of my best works of art. You understood what I was teaching you. And it had to go beyond what the community was doing because it was just one-on-one, deeper and intense. Man, she was nice. And it helped me dive down deep into my own self. Took me back to when I was 7. That's how I knew what the pops leaving did when I was sitting on his lap. She said, wait, your father said what? And it wasn't something that was on my brain. And what she asked me was, why do you feel responsible for? I said, well, it's because I was raised to be responsible. What do you mean? And so when I told her the situation, she said, hold up. Your childhood was stolen. I said, yeah, but I didn't care. Because by the time I hit 18, 19, I loved myself. I loved who I was and what I saw. And I thought I had an opportunity to grow and be. There was no blocks that I wasn't aware of. I knew I had issues expressing emotion. I knew it. I just didn't know how to stop it. She helped me switch that. Right? And so you got to be able to see those patterns and break them. Understand your system, your thinking, your internal processes, your behavioral system, how you express yourself, the patterns that are happening around you. Understand the mechanism that's you, the steam of the Most High. When you do that, the awareness builds your freedom. The breakthroughs come. And you create a new state of thinking, a new state of being, a new state of doing. In that space, you actually are able to get to your highest state of self and live from real purpose. And when you can live from real purpose, you start dealing with that process. Wait, where we at? Of alignment. Being aligned. You go from I act this way because that's how I was raised, to the point where you say I understand what shaped me and I choose how I operate. I remember one time I had a my mom came to church and I had broke up with somebody at my church, and I said, "Mom, I messed up." My mom was like, "No, you didn't mess up. I messed you up." Drove to the church. 30 minutes late away, the sister came out the choir. She grabbed the sister by the arm, pulled her down. Chizzy, if you watch it, you remember this day. My mama looked at her and said, "I raised my son hard. This is who he had to become in order for him to live in the environment in which we grew up in. Hard." But if you stay around, I'm quite sure you'll be able to assist him to soften up. You got to be able to see those moments, come aware of your patterns, and then develop separation. So I am not my programming. I am the programmer, and I'm reprogramming myself. I choose my responses. I choose alignment. I live in intention, with intention. That's important. Your awareness hits. I see you, Chandra, logging in from work. Your awareness creates separation. So wait, I'm not locked in the state of being. The door opens. I can walk through to the newness of me. Your separation creates the opportunity for choice. And when you're in that space of opportunity, I'm choosing to be my old self versus I'm choosing to walk in alignment. I tell people, you don't want me. You don't want me to function from my old self. It's not what you really want to see. You want to see me function from a different space. Right? And so I'm looking for this slide. And I have this next slide, but we're missing something. It didn't get saved. Hold on. Wait. I see it. I think I see it. Nope. Y'all forgive me. And we're going to go over here as we continue. And y'all going to see me working as I pull this up. So in these spaces, you are not required to carry your yesterday forward. You don't have to. You can get to a point where you make a choice and you do not carry anything that you are not supposed to carry with you. Right? You can let all of that go and become exactly who you're called. And when that happens for you, to you, with you, you know that you're about to introduce yourself to yourself. And I sit down and I always say that I'm going to introduce myself to myself. I want to see who I am. I want to get to know that higher me. Now, one of the things that the slide that I was looking for, because I always like to explain what I'm teaching with images, because sometimes it just makes sense. And then when I started putting the points and the bullets up there, it's easier for you to, I can talk fast. It's easy for you to create notes. And so in this space where you see the drawing, you see the man, brother walking, and in every scenario, in every situation, the brother was walking toward a tree. And so we said in this here, we said the tree is that the manifestation of the tree of life. And as is above, so is below. And so he's always walking towards that tree. And in that space where he's walking towards that tree, he's getting to that point where I think this is it. Here we go. I'm almost there. Yeah, this is it. Let's see. Hold on. You're gonna watch me work. I'm not going without dropping this one because you need it. And I said I might actually do this and add this. Okay. Uh, let's go get it. Where you at? And so in this space, sorry for the delay. I appreciate those who are hanging with me. I said, oh, there was something that I didn't drop. And we're going to see if we can get this in here before we go to the over. As you're walking in this journey, the journey within, as you walk toward the tree of life, and that's what I said through this whole lesson, you saw the image of the brother walking toward the tree. And we say that the inner world, the tree, this is the inner world. That statement, as is above, so below, we're not looking outside ourselves for any answers. We're looking within ourselves. And when you talk about above, it's your higher level of consciousness. And if we can get the internal system that's you walking through this, as above, so below, if you can get to that point where your beliefs, your emotions, your patterns, you get rid of the unspoken rules, you develop your identity, these roots, hidden, unseen, but powerful, shape your reactions, decisions, and reality. And if you can get to the point where you're functioning from that higher self, as above, so below. The world around you, your outer world. This is a statement of your inner world, your level of consciousness. Because you can't control everything outside you. You have full control of everything inside you when you become aware of this information. Now, I sat down and said, imagine, and I didn't get a chance to do this graphic, but imagine a child who functions with that understanding, as above is so below. So the minute that I understand that my inner world, my consciousness, how I see myself, how we exist as a people, I see it at its highest form, that I vibrate at a particular frequency, that I can control the things that happen. I don't become reactive. I respond and become responsible for what happens outside me, which is deeply personal. This is what you got to get to. This is exactly what you got to get to. And so, if you can get to that point, you can get to that moment, you can get to that experience, you will watch things change. As above, so below. Why is this important? Why do I have to do with the application? Because we're going to get to the applications, the things that you can change to work through these things. Because you are trying to get to your highest state of self. You got to go through these steps for real and take them seriously, because if not, you will not change the kingdom or reach the kingdom of the Most High within you. That's guaranteed, that you will not see the kingdom if your consciousness is still the way it was in your yesterday. Today is different. And so understanding that that's that journey, you see the journey. And so when after I created this, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I could drop that. Yeah. Y'all see how I be doing. I be like, oh, download. As above is so below. Let me create this. Let me quickly do this. Why? Because I got the brother walking, standing on the tree of life. I got to add this lesson, and I'm going to add this as a permanent fixture to the Ubuntu process. I go crazy when these downloads come in. Yeah, I be like, man, this brother, where? I had one sister. I'm gonna mention you. One love, Karima. She one time, once she gave me, she's out in Detroit, Houston, and she runs the virtual. Well, she used to run the virtual village in our community, which is everything that we are online. Now she's a consultant for all of it. And one day she called me, watching what I was producing on a regular basis. She said, "Where do you get this information?" And I started laughing because I've been doing this for some years. I said, "These are the downloads." That's why I had to create DaAfrican Speaks, because I had no other platform and no other process to share the information that was being downloaded. Then when they asked me to preach, brother, where you get your information? Man, it downloads. I've been told, hey, go look at this. But like if I'm online, go look at click. Then all of a sudden I see a book that I'm supposed to purchase and buy. I go on, whoop, I become the energy field that pulls towards it. And so I said, yeah, let's put this in there. So in this space of walking toward the tree of life, or living that tree of life. And I remember walking, and I was talking to some kids this past weekend. I said, hey, isn't it a beautiful thing? Hence the tree on the ground. If you look up at a tree, you realize that the roots the leaves and the branches that you see, the roots are just as big on the bottom. So if you have a broken awareness in your consciousness, then what you see in your physical state ain't gonna be much. So in this space, as you walk, observe yourself without judgment. Don't point the finger. Don't get mad at your mama, your daddy, your uncle, your brother. Why'd you do this? Because we all conditioned, living in a conditioned situation where we are not our highest selves. So look, notice one repeated reaction you have. Avoidance, overthinking, shutting down, whatever it is. Ask yourself, where did you learn it? Ask, how did I get like this? And I put mine, I tell people, you don't understand. I've been doing this forever. This is how it makes sense to me, and why they're making it now organized within my brain that I could teach it. One love in Bayou. I was talking to him Bayou when I first started taking my classes, my ancestral classes, to be able to interact and conversate and talk to and commune with my ancestors. I said, am I supposed to take this class from this particular Babalao? One diviner asking about another diviner, because at that time, here where I'm at, and Bayou's in Detroit, doesn't have the classes. I would take a class. When he came to Atlanta, I took the class. He said, you are only supposed to take that class if you're planning to teach it. Brother, we keep playing. DaAfrican Speaks. And we got something else coming up that I can't wait to announce. But identify the silent rule. What was the unspoken message to your being, to your body, that you've decided to follow? And then again, don't judge, don't get mad, don't point a finger, don't express emotions or keep the peace at all costs. No. Don't do that. Don't block. Just be aware of where you picked it up from. Remember that it's been a pattern. And then when you get to that pattern and you realize that it's a pattern, introduce a new choice. And I remember being in counseling and in my journey, Cardinal Labayo again. I asked her, hey, when am I going to know when all this is working? She said, you're going to know when you know. Why? Because then your consciousness switches. And you don't know when it's going to happen. But if you keep feeding it, keep feeding it, keep feeding it, keep looking, keep doing the work, it clicks. And so when you choose to be aligned, different, aligned action, you speak clearly instead of avoiding. African Speaks. You express a feeling instead of suppressing it. And it's how you express the feeling. If I'm upset, I'm going to express it in a state of love because, hey, we need to resolve this. Yeah. Pause instead of reacting automatically. Take your time. Step 5, repeat the awareness. Consistency builds a new internal system. Small choices, repeated consistently, change lasting. Create lasting change. Excuse me. You doing this on a regular basis. And I remember asking the brother, I said, man, when I hit my cray level, brother, when did you get to that point where you knew that everything was working out? He sat down and said, man, he said, when I knew that, he said, that was a while back. He said, it could take you 7 days, 7 months, 7 years. It depends on what you pour into it. And I said, And so this is what we seek. You got to be able to get to this experience. You got to be able to get to this experience where this is the journey. As above, so below. I am going to control my conscious state. I'm going to be aware and watch everything. Step 1, observe without judgment. Step 2, identify the silent rule. Step 3, name the pattern. This is a learned response, not my identity. It's a pattern. This is not who, and somebody who hit me, somebody who had plenty knives in my back. But every time that person came around, I spoke with an unconditional state of love. And they asked me, yo, after all I've done to you, why are you still kind to me? I said, because you made me realize you're not what you're doing. It's not who you are. What you're doing is not who you are. I know who you are. And I would love to be around when you get to who you are. Now, if that doesn't happen, I'm fine. But I am going to treat you according to who I know you to be versus what you're responding as. Now, if I ever get to a point where, you know what, I got to move forward because I got an assignment in life, you catch up. I know who you are. And so you got to get to that point. Yeah. Name the pattern. It's not your identity. It's who you was shaped to be. Now you can choose differently. Choose differently. Introduce a new choice. Real talk on my journey. As I was going through counseling, I'm gonna say your name again, Cardinal Olabayo. I'm gonna keep saying you. I give you flowers while you here. In my flowers, in my process, going through my journey, it sparked. I remember the day it happened, and I didn't want to tell her, "Hey, I got it," and we don't need this. I just stopped. I just didn't show up. It hit me, and I didn't show up. And I called her. Hey, we bumped into a church. Hey, I missed you. I said, yeah, I think I had my last session. She said, are you sure? I said, I'm positive. What you were teaching and what you were pouring into me, what was I meditating on? It clicked. One night I woke up and my brain was just free. And I saw me clearly. And I started posting. And only one love, the Fitzgerald family, could say this, that it was a deep shift. Deep shift. I can only be who I was called. And that was a constant post of mine. Because I refuse to be the expression of anything negative based off of any patterns that I've experienced. I'm going to be my divine self. Now, again, In order to reach that, yeah, awareness, choose different, live aligned, build legacy. Meaning this is what you do now. Pour it into another child. And so these past 3 weeks ooh, have been powerful. Week 18, emotional inheritance. The focus of discovering emotional patterns, wounds, and reactions we inherited consciously or unconsciously. The core question, where did this come from and what did I inherit? Hmm. And so this is the takeaway here is I see my emotional patterns I inherit. This is not my fault, but it is my responsibility to heal from it. Week 18 was you saw what you inherited. Week here was about the silence. So now you see what you inherited in your DNA structure, 18. Week 19 was about the system that it activated, the system that activated week 18. This is in my DNA. Now my system in which I live in activated week 18. The silent, quiet thing that goes on in our family. We always do this, but no one ever talks about it. And I remember before our family reunion, we definitely dealt with this. The focus is understanding the unspoken rules, roles, and loyalties that run the family system in the background. So whatever's in your DA coming out in those systems. The takeaway, I see the system I've been operating in, and now I choose how to operate different. Awareness creates separation. Separation creates choice. Choice creates alignment. And I bring this in. New way to bring this in. Let me see if because next week, as you see these things, now it's time to talk because about the mask versus the authentic self. I always say you have to understand what healthy looks like to understand what you have to overcome. And so this is next week. We're healing, y'all. These masks that we put on, these games that we play, I need you to see it. Your false self. After noticing now, I see the patterns in my behaviors. Okay, you know that that's the false self, right? That's not the part of you that you should be sitting down standing on. And we're going to get to your authentic self. So again, for those who have been watching, everything has been made purposely. And what I say here is, and I've gone over, and I had somebody tell me when I cut it short one week, don't stop, brother, keep going. Brother, you should have, it's not a stopped abruptly. And I'm like, yeah, it did. Right. All right. Now, Juma got another phrase. What she say? Awareness and action. Whoa. What was never spoken because what is silently inherited. It becomes a part of our behavior and our body. But awareness makes you responsible for breaking the pattern because healing the lineage starts with awareness. One love. We appreciate it. She in it. And I'll let y'all know straight up. I love having when people call me after the session just to talk about what they got from the session. Love that. Now, in this space, when we look forward to next week, when we're dealing with week 20, the mask versus the authentic self, I want you to imagine this. Now, with this being done and this awareness going out, imagine raising a child that doesn't have a mask, raising a child that doesn't live with that silence of dictatorship, raising a child that we shield from the system that created us. That's World of Akibaland. They know in the discussions that we have that adults have to be deconditioned. What I speak on in the African Speaks is not what they learn. In the African Speaks, adults must be deconditioned to be reconstructed. Kids need to be guided in a state of deep divine awareness of who they are, whose they are, and why they're here. They need responsibility to be the greatest generation that we have ever seen or that we call together. They need that responsibility placed on them now. Because as they grow up, we see what's happening to the world. Let's not be reactive. Let's be proactive. That's where this comes from. World of Akibaland. Where in all of this that we talk about, I make sure in the development of the curriculum of how we govern our youth and raise our youth, they access that limitlessness within them where there are no breaks. There are no walls. And if you have an obstacle, it's there because the creator and your ancestors need you to level up. So they got to give you some type of what is that course where you run? Obstacle course. There we go. They give you an obstacle course to run through to sharpen your tools. And so imagine that world. And if you can imagine that world and why I do what I do, I have taken the responsibility not only of healing myself, but those who are coming after. And in that space, I will always say, if I said anything that connects to you, yeah, join the mission. Continue conversating, texting until we put this collective together where we can all have a community discussion. Join the conversation. And for those who are in our community that I don't get to see a lot, and those who want to be a part of the community, yeah, y'all hit me up. Y'all see the website, woaatl.org. You see the Facebook page, hit me up and bring a child. Because in that space, yeah, we will see the African in you rise. And with that being said, the only thing left to say is one love. Peace.